Hey guys, this is Lucy Hendricks with Core Training Tips. Everyone works on their core, whether it's in their warm up, between their heavy lifting, throughout their workout, or on their recovery/mobility days. Everyone benefits from them, and people do them for different reasons. Some people are trying to improve their posture and prevent injury. Some people are trying to better their position for heavy lifting. Some people use it to help the recovery. The list can go on and on. And today I wanted to go over a few things that can improve or add to your core training that will help you get more out of your exercises that you're already doing. So you don't have to do anything new. You don't have to do any new exercises. Just add these few things and I guarantee you'll get a lot more out of your core exercises. So the first thing I want to talk about is the balloon. A lot of people are using them for their core training and retraining their breathing, including myself and some of my clients, but I'm actually going to suggest you not to use them. Chances are, if you picked it up from a YouTube video or an article online, you're probably not doing it correctly, and you'd be better off using a straw, which is harder to mess up on, and not using anything at all and just really focusing on the exhaling. So if you do want to add some resistance, if you've been doing your 90-90 breathing, you can add a straw. A lot of people have a hard time messing that up. A lot of people mess up the balloon breathing. There's so many different things that you can do wrong, and you're just better off not using it at all, and you'll get more benefit from taking it away. So exhale hard and brace as hard as you can is not a cue when it comes to core activities that I would use, but it's something that I notice a lot of people do. When someone is doing their 90-90 exhales, dead bugs, all fours breathing, bear crawls, bird dogs, I will cue them to exhale fully. I want to take the diaphragm that struggles getting out of a state of inhalation and bring it back more into a state of exhalation, like the picture here to the left. If you are not new to dark side, I'm sure you've heard about the inhalation, exhalation, and hyperinflation, and how most people are stuck in a hyperinflated state, which means they really suck at getting all the air out, which is why I cue full exhale. When you exhale hard and brace as hard as you can, you will most likely not get your diaphragm to look like the picture or the image on the right. So the first two breaths, you'll notice I try to get all the air out and exhaling, exhaling, exhaling. Second one is the same, and you'll notice on the third one, I just exhale hard and then I brace, and it's very short. That's what I see most people do. So the last two is exhaling hard and just bracing, and we call that turtleback, which is when you chase the shape and you don't chase the air out. And Dave shows you an example. This is him just chasing the shape, bracing his abs, using rectus too much, shrugging, and then really reaching too much. And this is a better way to do it, where you chase the air out. You will still get abs, but you just don't actively brace your abs as hard as you can. This next one, I see mostly kids do this one because they're running through their warm-up really fast and they don't really want to focus on doing it right. You will notice the first three that Dave is going to do, he's going to tuck his pelvis, but then he's not going to keep it tucked in. So the pelvis is actually going to stay in a flex position. So a lot of people actually do this same exercise to turn their abs on, thinking they're shutting off their hip flexors. But if your pelvis untucks and tucks, then you're not actually shutting off your hip flexors, you're actually using your hip flexors to do this exercise. So you'll notice the first three that he does, his pelvis will tuck and then untuck. So he might feel some abs, but mostly he's going to be using that hip flexor, which most people are trying to shut off while doing this exercise. This next one tucks his pelvis and then it stays tucked in. And even though I really like this exercise, there's something that I would add to make it even better, just so the client gets more out of it. Because when I have someone do a core exercise or breathing exercise, one of the biggest things I'm trying to accomplish is rib cage retraction. And we talked about earlier the diaphragm being in a state of inhalation or hyperinflation. When the diaphragm is in that position, the rib cage is protracted, so it's shifted forward. So your whole entire body center of gravity gets shifted forward. So one of the biggest things that I want to do is shift it back, which is called a rib cage retraction when the thorax goes back. So thorax going forward is rib cage protraction, rib cage retraction, rib cage going back, or in this case, if you're looking at the picture, the rib cage going down. A lot of people struggle doing that in this position, which is why I like to recruit muscles like serratus anterior and low trap to help me bring the rib cage back. If you haven't read Justin's article on why we must reach, this will make a lot more sense to you if you read that. But serratus anterior, for example, you want to think of serratus anterior like as hands or fingers wrapped around your rib cage, or attaches to the first 8-9 ribs. So this is a horrible picture right here, but when you recruit that muscle, think of that muscle grabbing your rib cage and pulling it back, which is rib cage retraction, which is what we want when we're doing core exercises. So on this next video, you'll see Dave, he's going to add a reach to an exercise that we just saw. And what that's going to do, it's going to help bring the rib cage back. So now it's not all up to, IOs and TAs to come on. Now we've got low trap and serratus anterior working, helping the whole entire rib cage shift back. So you'll see here, he'll add a reach, which will help bring the rib cage back. And now he's going to have a better chance at recruiting his core muscles than he would if both arms were on the ground and both shoulder blades were retracted. When adding a reach to exercises, it will help you and your clients not go into extension when performing exercises in supine. Adding reaching to activities on all fours is also very helpful. You'll notice on the left, I am not reaching, so my rib cage is protracted, is shifted forward, and now my shoulder blade doesn't have a rib cage to sit on. The shoulder blade is a rounded shape that should sit on another rounded shape, which is my rib cage. But when people are flat through here with a rib cage that's shifted forward, you'll see a lot of people have a shoulder blade that wings. When you add a reach, you just create a more stable environment for the whole entire shoulder, and you also recruit abs a little more in this position. Here's also a video of just a simple exercise like bird dog. I'm reaching, nothing moves, nice and stable, my abs are working, my pelvis is tucked in, and this is what it looks like without a reach, and that's what I see a lot of people do. Here's another exercise. The first breath is no reach. The second 2 or 3 is with a reach. And the last one is overdoing the reach. So there, shoulder blades are poking out a little bit. My rib cage is forward. And then I add a reach. So I reach my arms through the floor, chest towards the ceiling. Way better position. And on this last one, I actually overdo it, which is what you don't want to do. So if you do add a reach, just make sure it doesn't look like that, to where you're shrugging and you're just chasing a shape instead of chasing the air out. Reaching can also help you with things like side planks. You will notice on the first few breaths, my rib cage is kind of collapsed. My shoulder blade is poking out a lot, and on that one, I push away from the ground, way more stable environment for my rib cage to be on. Should have tucked a little more, but I was really focusing on my shoulders. I see this a lot with unstable, hypermobile, not just women, but mostly women. If they're doing a side plank and they can't get their shoulder blade not to wing with a reach, then I usually don't have them do exercises like this because I want the shoulder blade to sit on a rib cage. And usually, just with a simple cue, reach takes care of that. Sometimes it doesn't, but definitely add a reach to your core exercises. It will do a huge difference. So summary, chase the air out, exhale fully, don't brace like a max effort squat. So instead of bracing as hard as you can, exhaling as hard as you can, just focus on getting all the air out. Especially if you have been using a balloon and you've been using the hard exhale and bracing as hard as you can during those core exercises. So make the switch. I think you'll notice a huge difference because it will carry over into your regular training because you need to be able to fully exhale to be able to fully engage all the core muscles that you're trying to target. And if you're not doing that, then you're going to use things like over overutilize things like rectus, and you can tell when someone uses rectus too much because it'll, once the weight gets heavy, they tend to round a lot, and I'll probably write about this or give you a video of what this looks like later on. Next one, tuck your hips and keep them tucked in. So try not to let your hips untuck and tuck while you're doing the exercises. Last one, add a reach, and definitely go read Justin's article on why we must reach. I think he wrote it last year. It's very popular. So if you haven't read it, make sure you go and check that out.